Laura sipped her coffee, letting the warmth chase away the chill of the early morning. Sunlight slanted through the blinds, illuminating the scattered cereal bowls and the crumbs that always seemed to escape the edges of the table. David, as usual, was already halfway through his newspaper. His brow furrowed slightly but smiling when their daughter, Mia, emerged from her room, earbuds in, phone clutched tightly. "Morning," Laura murmured, voice soft. Mia muttered a barely audible reply, eyes fixed on the glowing screen. David glanced up, folding the paper neatly. "Big game tonight?" he asked casually. Mia shrugged. The conversation drifted, perfunctory and unremarkable. Narration pulled Laura's mind inward. The pride she felt watching her little family, the quiet reassurance of routine, the illusion that all was exactly as it seemed. Yet beneath the laughter and weekend errands, something niggled, a hesitation in Mia's smile, a quick glance at a phone that didn't belong to her school notifications. Laura shook her head, dismissing it. Probably just teenage secrecy. The aroma of bacon mingled with coffee, a comforting domestic symphony. Outside, the mailbox rattled in the morning breeze. Laura's eyes lingered on it before returning to the table, to the ordinary chaos of breakfast. Unseen by her, Mia's phone buzzed again, a message from someone outside their household. Laura didn't notice, and the family carried on, unaware that their carefully constructed normalcy was only the surface. The house was quiet, save for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of settling wood. Laura lingered in the kitchen, wiping a countertop she had already cleaned twice. Something felt off. She glanced at the hallway, noticing Mia's bedroom door, usually ajar in the evenings, now firmly shut. A faint glow escaped from beneath the frame, a laptop screen flickering against the dark. "Mia?" Laura called softly, approaching. No response, only the faint sound of typing and a click of a mouse. Her concern sharpened into unease. Something about the way the girl's room seemed locked in secrecy set Laura's heart racing. She hesitated, then knocked lightly. "Everything okay?" The response came in the form of silence, followed by a muffled, "Yeah, I'm fine." Later that night, Laura noticed David pacing near the staircase, phone in hand, jaw tight. He caught her gaze and forced a casual smile. "Just checking on things," he said, voice clipped. His protectiveness, usually subtle, now carried an edge of anxiety. Laura's mind churned. Trust battled suspicion. Love wrestled with instinct. She retreated to the living room, peering through the hallway shadows as a cold wind rattled the windows. The faint blue glow of Mia's laptop continued to pulse behind the door. A knot of worry twisted in Laura's stomach, a quiet warning that normalcy might be only a fragile veneer. Laura had gone upstairs to grab a forgotten sweater when her eyes fell on Mia's phone lying face up on the nightstand. A notification blinked, just a preview, but the words made her freeze. "Can't wait to see you later. Miss you, D." The initials weren't enough to identify the sender, yet something about the tone sent a shiver down Laura's spine. Her pulse quickened, and disbelief clawed at her chest. David?" she whispered under her breath, barely audible over the hum of the ceiling fan. She lifted the phone, scrolling through the conversation just enough to see a string of flirtatious messages, each one more unsettling than the last. The lines blurred between playful and intimate, casual texting and something forbidden. Laura's mind spun. Could this be a misunderstanding? A joke or something darker? Her heart pounded, the familiar walls of her daughter's room suddenly oppressive. She paced, muttering fragmented questions aloud. Who? Why? Mia, what is this? But the house remained silent, shadows stretching across the carpet like accusatory fingers. The rain outside tapped relentlessly against the window, mirroring the frantic rhythm of her thoughts. The pale glow of the phone illuminated her face, highlighting the shock and creeping paranoia that now gnawed at her. Trust, once unshakable, seemed fragile, suspended over a precipice of dread. Laura sat on the couch, clutching a mug of lukewarm tea, her eyes tracing the uneven shadows cast by the living room lamp. A misplaced jacket, David's, hung on the stair railing, though she was certain he hadn't been home earlier. Small, subtle details gnawed at her, a flicker of hesitation in his smile, a lingering glance at Mia that seemed almost secretive. Moments that had once felt ordinary but now struck her as loaded with meaning. Memories surfaced unbidden, Mia's whispered excuses for late-night outings, David's sudden insistence on accompanying her just to make sure she's safe, and the furtive messages Laura had glimpsed the night before. Each flashback wove a pattern that she tried to deny, yet her mind refused to let it go. "David, can I ask you something?" she ventured cautiously, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "Mia, you and Mia, is there?" His eyes widened for a fraction, and then he deflected, a rehearsed laugh. "You're imagining things, Laura. You've had a long week." Her stomach nodded. Was this denial or manipulation? Fear prickled along her spine, and betrayal's cold hand gripped her chest. Laura wanted answers, but the courage to confront the truth felt fragile, almost impossible. She leaned back, the shadows stretching across the walls like silent witnesses to the secrets hiding in plain sight. Laura sat alone at the dinner table, the uneaten food growing cold before her. The clock ticked loudly in the otherwise silent kitchen, each second amplifying the tension that had been creeping into her mind for weeks. She thought back to subtle moments she had dismissed. Mia's secretive text messages, David's insistence on knowing her whereabouts, the nights he lingered just a moment too long near her daughter. Each memory now pressed heavily against her, evidence she had chosen to ignore. Her fingers drummed against the edge of the table. "How did I not see this?" she thought, guilt twisting in her chest. Was I too trusting, too distracted? Yet suspicion gnawed relentlessly at her mind, whispering that denial had only allowed the truth to fester unseen. David entered the room, carrying his own plate. "Everything okay?" he asked casually, though the slight tension in his voice betrayed him. Laura's gaze met his, sharp but hesitant. "I just feel like there are things we're not talking about," she said, her tone even, controlled. He smiled faintly, brushing off her concern. "Laura, you're imagining things again." "Don't overthink." She stared at him, trying to decide if she should push further or retreat, the weight of unspoken truths settling over the quiet house. Mia's bedroom door remained firmly closed down the hall, a barrier between Laura and the mysteries she feared to confront. Laura's hands trembled as she scrolled through the laptop, unable to believe the evidence before her eyes. Messages stacked on the screen, intimate photos, and fleeting hints of confessions all pointed to the unthinkable. David, her husband, was romantically involved with Mia, their daughter. Her vision blurred with tears, the familiar lines of their home dissolving into shadows of betrayal. How could you?" she whispered, voice barely audible, as though saying it aloud might shatter her entirely. The words hovered unanswered in the dimly lit study. She recalled every casual conversation, every late-night phone call, now tainted with suspicion and deceit. The reality pressed down on her chest, heavy and suffocating. David's footsteps echoed from the hallway. "Laura, what are you doing?" he asked, feigning calm, but the guilt in his eyes betrayed him. "Stop lying," she snapped, voice cracking. "All these messages, the photos. This is happening between you and her." He opened his mouth, faltered, and fell silent, unable to construct the lies quickly enough. Laura's knees gave way and she sank to the floor, staring at the scattered evidence that reflected a life she thought she knew. Her mind spun between horror, disbelief, and grief, the walls of trust around her crumbling completely. Every reflection in the glass surfaces of the study showed not her family, but fragments of a shattered world she no longer recognized. The house, once warm with laughter and routine, felt hollow and hostile. Overturned chairs and scattered belongings testified to the argument that had erupted hours ago, a storm echoing the one raging outside. Laura sat on the couch, hands clenching the fabric, heartbeat hammering as flashes of betrayal replayed in her mind. Every smile she had shared with David, every proud glance at Mia, now felt like a cruel illusion. Mia hovered nearby, her expression shifting between defiance and guilt, as if unsure which mask to wear. "Mom, I didn't mean for it to happen like this," she whispered, voice cracking, but her eyes betrayed arrogance, a stubbornness that cut deeper than words. David paced the room, attempting explanations that only widened the chasm. "It wasn't supposed to hurt anyone," he muttered, voice pleading. It was complicated. I can explain." "Explain?" Laura's voice trembled with rage and disbelief. "How do you explain betrayal with your own daughter?" Her words landed like blows, echoing off the walls that had once witnessed family warmth. The air pulsed with unspoken truths and unhealed wounds. Laura's mind cycled between fury, sorrow, and the instinct to protect herself and the remnants of her broken family. Each word, each glance, revealed fractures she feared might never mend. News of the betrayal leaked faster than Laura had anticipated. Whispers slithered through family gatherings, social media feeds, and the quiet streets of their neighborhood. Eyes that had once smiled warmly now darted with suspects. Lawyers murmured last-minute instructions. The courtroom emptied like a tide, retreating, leaving a heavy silence behind. Rain pelted the windows outside, streaking the glass as shadows lengthened across hallways, mirroring the cracks forming within the family. Laura replayed every moment, the flirtatious texts, the hidden meetings, the subtle signs she had ignored, and felt a deep ache where trust had once resided. Internal monologues intertwined with fragmented dialogue, whispered instructions to relatives. Lawyers' brief reassurances, Mia's hesitant murmurs. Laura questioned herself relentlessly. Could she have prevented this? Should she have acted sooner? The moral cost of secrets and betrayal pressed down as guilt, societal judgment, and fractured bonds coalesced into a quiet storm that threatened to consume every remaining sense of normalcy. The house was silent. Bedrooms stood empty, toys untouched, and peeling wallpaper bore witness to the passage of time and the decay of trust. Family photos, once carefully arranged, lay forgotten, faces staring blankly into a void of fractured memories. Laura moved through the rooms like a ghost, her footsteps muted against worn floorboards, each corner a reminder of betrayal that had been buried too long. Her thoughts spiraled between moments of love and moments of horror. She replayed the secret texts, the hidden meetings, the carefully veiled glances. The desire for normalcy had collided violently with deception, leaving her grasping at fragments of a life she no longer recognized. Internal monologues reflected guilt, anger, and the slow recognition that some wounds could never truly heal. Phone calls were rare, brief, and strained, her voice clipped, cautious, measured. Conversations with relatives or distant friends felt hollow, inadequate to bridge the chasm created by trust shattered. The streets outside lay silent beneath the settling night, the occasional flicker of streetlights casting long, lonely shadows that mirrored her inner desolation.